Ladies and gentlemen, close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You wake up in the morning, and before anything happens, before the phone rings, before you check your messages, you make one simple choice: will today be a problem, or will today be an opportunity? That single choice, made in silence, has the power to decide whether your day feels heavy or light, whether you walk with worry or with hope. The secret to happiness is not hidden in the world outside, in the attitude you choose within yourself. When we say that perception shapes reality, it may sound simple, but it is one of the most powerful truths about human life. Every situation we encounter in our personal or professional journey passes through the lens of our attitude before it becomes part of our experience. A person with a negative outlook will take the same event and see only problems, risks, and reasons to give up. Meanwhile, someone with a positive attitude will see possibilities, opportunities, and reasons to keep moving forward. The situation itself has not changed. What changes everything is the perception of the person facing it. Imagine two people working on the same project at work. The deadline is tight, resources are limited, and obstacles seem endless. One person looks at these circumstances and says, "This is impossible, we are doomed to fail." The other person says, "Yes, it's difficult. This is also our chance to show creativity and resilience." Which one do you think will inspire the team, attract support, and eventually find a solution? It is not about who has more talent or intelligence. It is about who chooses to see the situation in a way that fuels action rather than drains hope. This principle is not limited to business or goals. Even in everyday life, perception decides whether you live in frustration or in peace. When it rains, a person complains that the day is ruined. Another person enjoys the freshness in the air and thinks of it as a blessing for farmers. The rain did not choose sides. People's attitudes created completely different experiences of the same event. This shows us that happiness is not hidden in circumstances, but in how we choose to look at them. History and daily life are full of examples of people who turned difficulties into stepping stones simply because they perceived challenges differently. An inventor facing repeated failures could see them as proof of his incompetence, or he could interpret each failure as feedback that brings him closer to the right answer. The truth is, the majority of breakthroughs in life and science were born not from perfect circumstances, but from people who trained their minds to see beyond the immediate problem. Their positive attitude allowed them to recognize patterns, seize hidden opportunities, and maintain the energy needed to continue. The idea that perception shapes reality also explains why some people feel rich with very little while others feel poor with much more. A positive attitude focuses attention on what is available and possible, while a negative one constantly highlights what is missing. If you wake up every day thinking about the resources you don't have, your reality will feel limited and heavy. If you wake up thinking about how to use the resources you do have, suddenly your reality feels open and full of potential. In this way, your mind creates your world long before circumstances decide anything. Challenges come, and they always do. A positive perception prevents panic. Instead of saying, "This is the end," it says, "This is a beginning I cannot see yet." It is not blind optimism or ignoring difficulties. It is the discipline of choosing to interpret every situation in a way that gives you strength rather than weakness. This is why people with positive attitudes are often described as resilient. They bend without breaking. Their perception does not allow a single setback to define the whole story. Perception shaping reality also has a social dimension. When you carry a positive attitude, people around you start to reflect that energy. They see you finding possibilities where others see walls, and this shifts their own thinking. In contrast, negativity dominates. It spreads quickly and suffocates creativity. In this sense, your attitude not only builds your personal reality, but also influences the reality of those who walk beside you. In the end, to understand that perception shapes reality is to realize that your attitude is not a small detail, but the very foundation of how you live. Life will always present difficulties, unexpected turns, and moments of doubt. You cannot always control the events, but you can always control the lens through which you see them. And once you take control of that lens, you begin to shape a reality that supports growth, happiness, and possibility. Failure as a teacher is one of the most powerful ideas a person can carry throughout life. Too often, failure is treated like a permanent mark, a sign of weakness, or an ending point. Many people avoid risks and big dreams simply because they fear failing. Yet those who have achieved great success understand something very different. Failure is not a punishment, it is a lesson. You look at failure through the lens of a positive attitude. It becomes a guide that shows you what works, what doesn't, and how to improve. In this way, every failure becomes a stepping stone toward growth. Think about how we all learned to walk as children. Nobody stood up one day and immediately walked across the room. We fell, stumbled, and struggled many times. If failure had been a reason to quit, none of us would be walking today. But as children, we don't interpret falling as a disaster. Treat it as part of learning, and we try again. The same truth applies in every stage of life, whether it is building a career, managing relationships, or pursuing personal dreams. Failure is part of the natural process of development. What matters is whether we choose to see it as the end or as education. Many people misunderstand success because they see only the final result. They look at a successful entrepreneur, athlete, or leader and think that person was born lucky or had a smooth journey. What they don't see are the countless failures behind the curtain. Every missed opportunity, every rejected idea, every moment of doubt was shaping that person's knowledge, skills, and resilience. Failure has a way of teaching lessons that success never can. Success often makes us comfortable, while failure forces us to question, to adapt, and to grow stronger. When we fail, emotions like disappointment, frustration, even shame can feel overwhelming. These emotions are natural, but they are not the truth of the failure itself. The truth is hidden within the lesson. Failure is like a mirror. It reflects back to us the gaps we must close, the habits we must change, and the areas where we need patience. Provides clarity about what does not work so we can focus our energy on discovering what does. For example, when an idea fails in business, it might reveal a misunderstanding of customer needs or weaknesses in execution. Without that failure, the same mistakes could repeat on a much larger scale, costing even more. Seen this way, failure saves us by pointing out errors early. Another important lesson failure teaches is humility. Success can easily inflate the ego and make us believe we are invincible. Failure quickly reminds us that we are human, that we have limits, and that there is always something new to learn. This humility is not weakness but strength, because it keeps us grounded and open to improvement. People who embrace failure as a teacher become lifelong learners, always willing to adapt and reinvent themselves. Failure also builds resilience. Each time you fail and rise again, your ability to handle future challenges grows. You begin to understand that failure is temporary, not permanent. This understanding gives you courage to take more risks, to innovate, and to pursue dreams that others might abandon out of fear. Resilience does not mean ignoring pain. It means feeling the pain, but choosing to move forward anyway. Failure teaches us that discomfort is not the end of the story, but the beginning of transformation. One of the greatest gifts of failure is perspective. When you fail, you learn that the world does not end, life moves on, and opportunities continue to appear. This realization makes you less afraid of trying again. You begin to see failure as a cost of progress, like tuition you pay for an education. Each failure adds to your knowledge bank, making you wiser for the next attempt. Over time, the lessons accumulate and form the foundation of real success. When you reframe failure not as an enemy, but as a teacher, you gain freedom. You free yourself from the fear of making mistakes, and you open the door to creativity, innovation, and bold action. The secret is not to avoid failure, but to extract meaning from it. Every failure carries within it a hidden lesson, and those who are willing to listen to that lesson are the ones who eventually achieve happiness and fulfillment through growth. Energy and influence are two sides of the same coin when it comes to maintaining a positive attitude. The energy you carry within yourself is not something hidden. It radiates outward and influences the people around you whether you realize it or not. A person with a positive mindset tends to carry a kind of invisible force that uplifts others. Someone with negativity spreads doubt, fear, and discouragement. This is why leaders, teachers, friends, and even family members who maintain optimism often create an environment where others feel safe, motivated, and inspired. The power of energy and influence lies in how attitudes and behaviors ripple through human connections. Consider a workplace scenario. Imagine two leaders facing the same crisis. One leader walks into the room visibly stressed, complaining about the impossibility of the situation and warning of failure. The team immediately absorbs that fear, and productivity collapses. The other leader acknowledges the challenge but speaks with confidence, focusing on what can be done, encouraging small steps, and highlighting possibilities. The same problem exists, yet the energy flowing from the leader creates a completely different outcome. The second leader's influence makes people believe in themselves and their ability to find a solution. This shows how energy is not just personal but contagious, shaping the environment for better or worse. Influence is rarely about authority alone. It is deeply connected to the emotional energy you project. People do not simply follow instructions, they follow feelings. If you radiate positivity, people will naturally gravitate toward you, trust your judgment, and want to be part of your vision. On the other hand, even the most intelligent or skilled person will struggle to inspire others if they carry an aura of negativity. Human beings are emotional creatures, and we tend to mirror the emotions of those around us. This is why one person's laughter can light up an entire room, while one person's bitterness can silence it. Energy also determines the culture of groups and communities. In families, for example, a parent's attitude becomes the emotional temperature of the home. A parent who maintains patience, hope, and encouragement influences children to grow with resilience and confidence. In contrast, a parent who constantly expresses frustration or hopelessness plants seeds of fear and insecurity. Similarly, in teams or organizations, the collective energy is often a reflection of how leaders and key members carry themselves. A culture of positivity does not mean ignoring problems, but addressing them with strength and optimism, which in turn motivates others to do the same. The influence of positive energy goes beyond motivation. It sparks creativity. When people feel safe and encouraged, their minds open up. They share ideas, take risks, think outside the box. Negative energy, however, creates fear and hesitation. People hold back, afraid of being judged or punished. This is why environments filled with positivity often produce innovation, while environments filled with negativity produce silence and stagnation. The presence of even one positive-minded individual can shift the dynamics because energy, like fire, spreads quickly. It is also important to recognize that influence is not always visible. Sometimes a small act of positivity, like a smile, a kind word, or calm reassurance, can change someone's day without you realizing it. The energy you project has the power to ripple outward in ways you may never fully see. A person inspired by your optimism may influence another, creating a chain reaction that extends far beyond your immediate circle. Carrying positive energy does not mean you never face difficulties or feel pain. It means you choose to respond to those difficulties in a way that uplifts rather than destroys. People who master this choice become natural influencers because they represent hope in the middle of struggle. They remind others that challenges can be faced, that solutions can be found, and that life is worth approaching with courage. The secret is that energy and influence are inseparable. Your attitude shapes your energy, and your energy shapes your influence. If you cultivate positivity within yourself, you automatically begin to inspire positivity in others. This is why some people seem to walk into a room and change the atmosphere instantly. Their inner light becomes a source of strength, for everyone around them, proving that influence is not about position, but about the energy you bring into every moment. Gratitude as a foundation for happiness is one of the most overlooked yet transformative truths about life. In the constant pursuit of bigger dreams, greater wealth, and higher recognition, people often forget that the ability to feel happy does not start when those goals are achieved. It begins with the awareness of what already exists. Gratitude shifts the focus of the mind from what is missing to what is present, from scarcity to abundance. When someone develops the habit of appreciating even the simplest things, they discover that happiness is not something to be chased in the future, but something that can be experienced right now. Everyday life offers countless moments that can be appreciated, but they are often ignored because the mind is too busy running after something else. The warmth of sunlight, the smile of a loved one, the opportunity to learn something new, or even the health to breathe and move freely are all gifts that people take for granted. Gratitude reminds us that these ordinary moments are in fact extraordinary blessings. Without gratitude, the mind becomes a constant critic, always pointing out flaws, comparing, always demanding more. With gratitude, the same life suddenly feels rich, fulfilling, and meaningful. Consider two people living in similar circumstances. Focuses only on what they lack, the job they do not have, the possessions they cannot afford, the opportunities that never came their way. The other, in the same situation, notices the roof over their head, the support of friends, and the chance to keep striving. The difference in happiness between the two is not caused by external conditions, but by the inner practice of gratitude. Someone chooses to recognize even small things as valuable, the weight of dissatisfaction becomes lighter, and contentment begins to grow. Gratitude is not only about appreciating comfort, it also transforms how challenges are experienced. When a person with a grateful heart faces difficulties, they are more likely to notice what the challenge is teaching them. They might say, "This is hard, but it is helping me grow stronger." Or, "This setback is painful, it is guiding me towards something better." Instead of drowning in frustration, gratitude creates perspective. It reminds us that even in dark times, there is something to hold on to, something to learn, or something to value. This perspective does not eliminate pain, but it makes the pain more bearable and gives strength to endure. Gratitude also has a unique way of improving relationships. When you appreciate the presence and efforts of others, it builds trust, love, and respect. A person who constantly complains about what others are not doing creates tension and distance. But someone who regularly acknowledges the kindness, support, and even the small gestures of people around them creates an atmosphere of warmth. In families, friendships, and workplaces, gratitude strengthens bonds because it communicates recognition and value. People naturally feel more connected to those who appreciate them. On a deeper level, gratitude helps balance ambition. It is good to aim for success and improvement, but without gratitude, ambition can turn into endless hunger, where nothing is ever enough. Gratitude does not kill ambition, it grounds it. It allows you to pursue bigger goals while still enjoying where you are. Balance ensures that happiness is not delayed until some distant milestone, but experienced throughout the journey. It teaches that you can be thankful for today while working for a better tomorrow. Scientific studies even show that gratitude improves mental health, reduces stress, increases resilience. But beyond science, the essence of gratitude is spiritual and human. It softens the heart, clears the mind, and brings peace. A person who lives with gratitude walks through life with lighter steps because they are not burdened by constant dissatisfaction. They learn to see life not as a list of unmet needs, but as a collection of blessings, both big and small. In this way, gratitude truly becomes the foundation of happiness. It is the root from which contentment grows, the anchor that steadies the heart in storms, and the perspective that makes ordinary life feel extraordinary. Without it, happiness remains a moving target. With it, happiness becomes a constant companion, always present in the simple act of noticing, and appreciating what life has already given. Term vision with optimism is one of the most essential qualities that separates those who merely survive from those who truly thrive. Constantly tests patience through delays, setbacks, and unexpected turns. In those moments, it is not talent or intelligence alone that keeps someone moving forward. The ability to maintain hope in a bigger picture. A long-term vision allows a person to see beyond present struggles, while optimism gives the courage to endure them. Together, they create a mindset where temporary pain does not destroy determination, and short-term failure does not erase the dream. Every meaningful achievement in history has required time. With time always comes obstacles. The farmer who plants seeds must wait for months before the harvest, trusting that the unseen roots are growing beneath the soil. The entrepreneur who starts a company must endure years of uncertainty, losses, and doubt before seeing success. The student who studies tirelessly may not see results immediately. Their long-term vision tells them that knowledge will shape their future. Without optimism, waiting feels unbearable. Without vision, struggle feels meaningless. Both are combined. Even the hardest journey feels purposeful. Many people lose their way not because they lack ability, but because they lose sight of the future during difficult times. They focus only on what is in front of them: the rejection letter, the failed project, the lost opportunity, and forget that these moments are just chapters in a larger story. Term vision acts like a compass, always pointing toward the destination, even when storms cloud the path. Optimism fuels the belief that no storm lasts forever, that every obstacle can be turned into a stepping stone. This combination protects people from the despair that often causes them to quit too early. Optimism in long-term vision is not blind hope. It is a conscious choice to believe in possibilities, even when evidence is not immediately visible. It does not deny problems, but refuses to let problems define the future. For example, when faced with failure, an optimistic person with a long-term vision does not say, "This is the end." Instead, they say, "This is a delay, a redirection, or a lesson preparing me for what is ahead." This shift in thinking transforms pain into preparation and setbacks into strategies. What makes this mindset powerful is its ability to create resilience. People with long-term optimism can absorb disappointment without losing momentum. They see a failed attempt as part of the process, not the conclusion of the process. This allows them to continue investing effort, creativity, and hope into their goals. The energy of persistence builds over time and eventually produces results that others give up too soon to experience. The world often admires successful people, but forgets the years of quiet endurance that optimism carried them through. In addition to personal growth, term vision with optimism influences others. A leader who constantly reminds the team of the bigger picture keeps morale alive even during tough phases. A parent who teaches their child to see beyond today's struggles instills resilience that lasts a lifetime. Optimism is contagious, and when tied to a vision, it becomes a powerful source of inspiration for entire groups of people. History remembers movements and leaders who, despite setbacks, kept hope alive not only in themselves but also in their communities. Another dimension of long-term vision with optimism is patience. In a world obsessed with instant results, the ability to wait with hope becomes rare and valuable. People who lack this mindset often abandon dreams halfway, chasing quick rewards that rarely satisfy. Those who cultivate it, however, enjoy deeper fulfillment because they know the wait and struggle are part of creating something lasting. They are not discouraged by temporary discomfort because they have trained their minds to see further ahead than the present. Ultimately, term vision with optimism teaches that true happiness and success are not about immediate gratification, but about enduring the process with faith in the future. It is a discipline of perspective, a habit of hope, and a way of living that keeps dreams alive even in the darkest seasons. The world may offer reasons to give up. With vision and optimism combined, every reason becomes a reminder that the destination is still worth the journey. Happiness is a choice, is a statement that carries deep meaning because it challenges the common belief that happiness depends entirely on external circumstances. Many people grow up thinking that once they achieve certain goals, own certain possessions, or reach a particular stage in life, happiness will naturally follow. Yet, countless stories prove otherwise. There are those who appear to have everything: wealth, status, comfort, and still live with dissatisfaction. At the same time, there are people with fewer resources who radiate joy and contentment. The difference lies not in what they have, but in how they choose to perceive and respond to life. Happiness is not delivered from the outside, it is created from within, and that creation begins with choice. Choosing happiness does not mean ignoring struggles or pretending problems do not exist. Life is full of challenges, and every individual faces pain, loss, and disappointment. Separates those who remain miserable from those who remain hopeful is the decision to look beyond the problem and find meaning, gratitude, or opportunity within it. For instance, someone who loses a job may choose to sink into despair, interpreting the loss as a sign of failure. Another person in the same situation may choose to see it as an opening for reinvention, an opportunity to pursue a new path that might lead to greater fulfillment. Realities exist, but the experience of each is determined by the choice of attitude. This idea is powerful because it places control back into the hands of the individual. People cannot control the economy, the weather, or other people's actions, but they can control their reactions. That control is where happiness begins. Every morning, a person decides whether to start the day with complaints or with appreciation. Every evening, they decide whether to dwell on what went wrong or to be thankful for what went right. These small choices accumulate, and over time, they shape the emotional landscape of life. Happiness becomes less about luck and more about daily discipline. Happiness as a choice also reveals the importance of perspective. Two people can face the same challenge and live two completely different experiences. A person stuck in traffic might rage with impatience, feeling their day is ruined. Another person might use the time to listen to music, reflect, or simply rest their mind. The traffic is identical, but the quality of the experience is completely different. In this way, happiness is less about events and more about interpretation. This is why some people are described as naturally cheerful. They are not free of problems, but they consistently choose interpretations that lighten rather than darken their mood. The choice of happiness is closely tied to gratitude and acceptance. When someone decides to focus on what they have rather than what they lack, they naturally feel more content. They accept that some things are beyond their control. They waste less energy on frustration and instead find peace. This does not mean surrendering ambition or refusing to grow. It simply means that while working toward improvement, they still allow themselves to enjoy the present moment. Happiness stops being a reward at the end of the road and becomes a companion along the journey. Making happiness a choice also has ripple effects on health, relationships, success. People who choose positivity tend to manage stress better, leading to improved mental and physical well-being. They attract healthier relationships because their outlook makes them easier to connect with and trust. Their optimism often opens doors in careers and projects. Others are naturally drawn to their energy. In this way, choosing happiness is not only a personal gift but also a social influence, shaping environments where positivity can thrive. At its core, the statement that happiness is a choice is both liberating and challenging. It liberates because it reminds people that they do not need to wait for perfect circumstances to be happy. They can begin now. It challenges because it requires responsibility. Longer can unhappiness be blamed solely on the outside world. Every day presents the option to complain or to appreciate, to despair or to hope, to surrender or to persevere. Choices made again and again ultimately define whether a person lives in misery or in joy. Happiness then is not found, but chosen, and that choice remains within reach regardless of circumstance. At the end of the day, life is not always about what happens to us. It is about how we choose to respond. A positive attitude transforms failures into lessons, struggles into stepping stones, and ordinary days into extraordinary experiences. It shapes the energy we carry, the influence we spread, and the happiness we feel. The world outside will never be perfect, but the world inside can always be strengthened by the choices we make. So choose to see possibilities instead of problems, gratitude instead of complaints, hope instead of fear. Because when you carry a positive attitude, you don't just unlock happiness for yourself. You become a source of happiness for everyone around you. And that, my friends, the real secret to living a joyful and meaningful life.